welcome to Laughing Monkey Music Show too. I'm Davy Vain. Davy, how are you?
I'm good. Cheers.
I'm glad we could do this. We're gonna talk about your new album, but I've been a longtime fan forever, like most people. Big fan of your voice too. I
Oh,
think
thank you.
you're welcome. It's such an emotive voice. It feels like it just really it's your own voice. Anything you sing, it's you. Like it's your own stamp on it, and I think that's great. I mean, because some singers are very generic,
Oh,
and
that's cool. Thanks. That's what I'm happy that, I don't really think about it. I just kind of do it and whatever comes out.
when I listen to a voice like that, I think, God, I mean, a singer like you, and there's probably a few other singers like you. You couldn't sound. Some other singers can sound like other bands and do cover bands. If you did, you sound like you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I know. It's like I don't think we've done a couple covers, but it's just we've never really played that many covers. We used to do Too Bad by Aerosmith, too
Mhm.
bad, it's too bad, Lord, it's too bad. And we did Down Payment Blues. We even
Yeah.
recorded Down Payment Blues when we did No Respect just to see what it sounded like, but the track sounded almost exactly like AC/DC with the
Oh,
Marshall
yeah.
and the tones we had. And so I don't know what happened to the master of that, but we used to always close our club shows with that. We even did it a few times, maybe after we were signed, because it was a fun one, just to,
Mhm.
the show's over, you can have a beer and it's kind of more of a fun, snotty kind of a thing, and it really felt, like, the sheriff's knocking on my, you got to pay the rent, got yourself a Cadillac, but you can't afford the gasoline, that it just felt like, with a lot of people, it's actually funny. We met chicks after that and stuff that went, "Oh my God, somebody did your song. I heard it on the radio with a different singer, the down payment song." I was like, what? They heard like AC/DC. So yeah, it's kind of funny. I read something that you two sounded really bad at covers too, and that's the only reason they started. They
Yeah.
started trying to play like other bands, but they just
Mhm.
sounded like
Well, I don't even think you sound bad. It's not even you sound bad though. I think your voice would just sound so distinct on every song. Like you doing covers is fine, but it would be you doing your version of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
yeah,
probably
I
the
know.
same thing with them because I mean your voice is good. It was just like it's so different than everybody else's.
I don't really have another voice in my head. I'm not like I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but I'm not like
No.
thinking, can this one? I think some singers have their heroes in their back of their head sometimes, like this is going to be a little like, Brian Johnson or something, or
Well,
it's going to be. I
and
just
yeah,
kind
and
of
some people can do it though. They can sing in different voices and
yeah.
stuff. I mean,
It's like
but
yeah.
you got one voice, but that voice is the voice. So you
And
lucked
I
out.
could make it, if I really wanted to, I could make it sound a little more distorted, you
Mhm.
know, but I don't want to because I don't want to hurt anything, especially at this point, and I'm older
Yeah.
now. It actually, I always had kind of lung power before I even started singing a lot because sometimes we go to concerts and another guy that's the roadie, which is weird because no one really think of that with my singing style, but we'd go to concerts like auditoriums and stuff. And one of the other guys that works for Guns N' Roses, he would say, "Oh, do your thing," and I would go like this, and just go really loud. And a few times people would go, "Yeah," like that's badass. But I've never tried to go, "I'm gonna sing like that." Like even on records, if I'm gonna do a scream at the stop, I don't
Yeah.
go. I go like, "Yeah." I keep it. I don't just go. Ah. I never, something just tells me don't do that. And I really careful not to hurt my voice. And sometimes, especially now, I used to not have to warm up that much. Now I try to warm up a little bit if I'm going to sing at all.
Mhm.
I get nervous that, something could, feel bad.
Well, and this is the day and age. I mean, as you know, that singers it's either they can't sing, record. I mean, there's always things outlined that blowing their voices, whatever. So you're in the category of a singer who sounds like you're like the first album. And I mean, this new album we're going to talk about sounds like the same, just as fresh. If
Yeah.
people didn't know you and know, I said, hey, listen to this. Like, use the first one. I love your other albums are good too. Actually, I'm not taking away from them, but I'm saying you listen to the first album for like a starting point of age, and you listen to the new one, and you say which one was first. If they don't know you, they're not going to be able to say distinguish which is which.
Yeah.
There's a difference in the
That's
production,
cool.
maybe,
Thank you.
but not in the vocal. You're welcome. So I mean, to me, and that's what makes your song so good is because the emotion you have in the songs just
Right.
makes something so different. You can't copy that. You'd probably be one of the bands that'd be hard to copy like a cover band of your songs too and do them like justice because it's you.
It's funny. Yeah. I mean, it's like also with No Respect. I mean, I luckily I could still sound like that, but we also made sure that we didn't make a record at the time. Even the record company didn't just want us to do an overproduced record that didn't really sound like the band. There's been many cases where, you go in the studio and have so many vocals
Oh
layers,
yeah,
so much stuff, it sounds amazing, but live, it's really kind of hard to pull it off. It sounds kind of raw version of that. But sometimes we'd play live and almost sound better than the No Respect, you know what I mean? Because it was live with more, vibe, because
production.
we purposely didn't make like giant background vocals and stuff just because we thought that's kind of sounds like such a time period that we wanted to have it feel like just a rock record. It was basically our show that we did at the Stone. The whole record, we just did our show. You know what I mean? It's like basically our show was like I would usually do something at the end of songs. Everybody would watch me. I'd do a jump and then we go, "Rah." We did it like that in the studio. Everything was set up to be like that. And anytime things got a little slick, there's no double vocals. A lot of people always double the vocals and turn one
Yeah,
down a little bit on the verse or a low thing. And and even the choruses are pretty mellow, and it's just like, and it just sounded like, us. So we could go reproduce that. So now it's like, luckily my voice can kind of still do it. It's funny.
right. But
What was that?
sorry, yeah, it doesn't sound dated at all. I mean, I went to school for recording, and at the time, I was going to school for recording at the time. That's one of the things that I loved about your albums is when everything comes out. I was listening to the albums in class. We're talking about production, and with that album, it was not over the top. It let you be you,
It
and the
was,
band be
and we
itself.
also having doing it at the studio. We lived at the studio. It was in Canada, in the middle of nowhere. There's a huge house, and you lived at the house. We were kind of starting to go stir crazy because we all lived in a city. We go out partying every night just to get food. We go to bars and the bartenders knew us, and strippers would take us to sushi and we'd wait all day to eat till like fucking 2 in the morning, when they got off their stripper gig, and then they would take us to like some place to get sushi and we order all this stuff. No, that's mine. That's mine. No, that's mine. At the end, we go, no, that's yours. No, you better eat that thing. So we were just surviving like that. I never took it to the point where I would let someone kind of take care of me though, because there was this one
Yeah,
chick. It's like, oh, she said you could just move in with her and she'll just take care of you, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. So we never took it to that level, but if we get somebody to get us some food or something, or we eat a burrito a day usually, and just drink beer for food. And so we had all these kind of wild stuff and chicks, and some people had girlfriends and other chicks, you know what I mean? And so it was like everything you really think the 80s are being in a rock band. I'm sure it was like that in the 70s. And it's like that with anything. You put someone on a stage and put lights on them, someone's going to want to fuck them. You know what I mean? It's like,
I
so
definitely think it's changed nowadays, though.
maybe it is, I'm not sure. But anyway, so we had all that kind of excitement, and then all of a sudden we're just at this place that's boring as fuck. There's nothing there. There's like a little bar that's a pub, and a lot of times we didn't even go there because we'd be working late. So we were just cooped up, and I think there's a lot of sexual angst on the record that probably wouldn't be there if you're just, at home,
Yeah,
like we were getting very like, wound up. Another cool thing about the record too is that we never tore anything down. And usually you go in and do the basic tracks, and then they tear the drums down, and then you do all the
right.
overdubs, and there's more room in the big studio to do shit. You don't have a drum set with all these mics, but we left everything up with the live vocal booth, everything, even to the last day. So we could just do a song like that in one take with both guitars, everything live off the floor. And we even did Icy. We had already recorded that. And one time we took a break and we were at a bar jamming. There was a band jamming at a bar. We got to go out one night. And then they go, oh, are you the guys at the studio that got signed? And we go, yeah. They go, you going to play a song? So we got on their song. And the whole time the drummer's playing, their drummer, the guy goes like, that's a brand new kit. Stop hitting it so hard. Tommy was over there just going, what? I can't hear you. So we did Icy, just we thought, oh, let's do Icy. And so afterwards, the producer was there, and he was like, oh, he'd never seen us live. He only seen us in pre-production playing live, but never with people there interacting. And
Yeah,
he
the
goes,
energy.
wow, that was great. I've never seen you guys in front of people. And I go, hey, what are we going to work on tomorrow? And he said, oh, we're going to do Icy. I go, we already recorded Icy like a week ago. We already did that. And he goes, yeah, I know. He goes, but that Icy you just did is better than the Icy we got in the can. Let's just do it tomorrow, just like that. So we went in, had some coffee. Okay, you ready? And just boom, just did it. And then it was like one take. And they go, oh, I like that one better. Boom. It's funny too. We did Ready too, completely live off the floor. And there was no CDs or DAT players. if you wanted to
Yeah.
listen to something that's on tape. So he had a little rough mix on a 1/4 inch tape on a tape machine, and it didn't even have background vocals on it yet. It was just like live off the floor because we couldn't do the backgrounds live too. So he would play that every day, just get all pumped up and get in the because he was doing used to doing like Rush and Queensryche and all this technical stuff. And we almost didn't use him because while we were looking for producer, I'd call him and I go, man, you're an amazing engineer and you're just really, but I think you might be too fancy. And he goes, oh no, I can do anything. I love what your tapes and stuff, you know. So I go, okay, you know, so we got to get, and he was like that. So he would get into the songs and really, you know, he was the greatest experience we could ever have had. He was so cool, just a master engineer, amazing at getting vocal sounds. And I think for a singer like me, the vocal tone is a big part of it. You know, if somebody doesn't get my
Oh,
tone
yeah.
right, like on All Those Strangers album, I never felt like the guy got my tone right. You know, like most people can't notice, but when I listen to it, I go, oh man, I don't really like the vocals that much. But, you know, it's,
But you're a producer too, though, on top of it. I mean, so
yeah. And when I write too, I kind of write for myself too. So when you were talking about the vocals, you know, and the emotion and stuff like that, I had kind of the luxury of not having a bunch of other people writing. If it would have, then maybe it could have been cool if there was, because I've written songs with other people since No Respect, you know, that I would just, that I go, oh, I love that. You know, I got a vibe for it. But when I write, I don't really write choruses or like a whole song. I don't just sit there and go, okay, here's the song. I just write, and then all of a sudden I'll hear a riff, and then I'll go, then I'll just instantly go, I've got the vibe for that. Like when I write Thousand Degrees or something like that, it's not like I wrote this whole thing and just go, now I'm going to figure out how to sing to it. I don't, if I could write a million of the best riffs ever, but if I don't feel like all of a sudden I'm emotionally involved in that and I want to say something to that, then I just keep going. You know, I don't even save it, you know, and then all of a sudden I'll just hit it. It could be like the easiest three chords, but for some reason, just the vibe of it or the way I did it hits me. And then instantly I just get in like, you know, two bodies lying naked. Then I go, okay, I've got something, you know, and then I can get invested in it and go, you know, bring it out of me. And then after I get that, then I kind of know where to go next because I've already got the melody, the words, and a whole verse. I love verses more than anything. So the verses are the part where you really can dig in, and the choruses are usually the part where there's more stuff going on or it's higher. And then I kind of construct that. So I think that helps what you're noticing about my voice being kind of really expressive because I don't try to force it in some place where it can't be expressive. And I don't know if,
yeah,
and I don't really do it on purpose. You know, I just kind of think like that. My mom was a singer too, a professional singer, and so was her sister. And they were really into that kind of emotional thing, you know, and they both were from Holland and they toured in Germany, you know, and not doing rock, but, you know, the standards and stuff. And, and she'd always, you know, say, oh, you know, she like the Andrews sisters, some weird stuff like that would be on TV singing. And they were all crying while they're singing. And my mom goes, that's how you sing. It's coming right from their heart. And I can feel it. And I was
yeah.
like, well, I never really thought about, you know, I don't want to do that or anything, but I was just like, okay. It's like, I've actually tried to do that before on stage and go, I'm going to put myself in a place like I want to just cry during this song. And I've tried to just like get because sometimes I feel like you sing where you cry from on a ballad or
Mhm.
something. And that's what my mom used to say too. When you're crying, you're like, you know, and it's from there instead of like, I'm singing a ballad, you know. So I think it was um uh not 1,000 Degrees. What's the other ballad on No Respect? Not Without You. The da 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 da.
That smoke.
Smoke and Shadows. I can't even
Okay.
think
All right.
I don't even know my own song. Smoke and Shadows. And so one time we played a gig and I was just, and we, it was like at our, one of our shows. So we had all this smoke and all this crazy lighting. We kept having more and more effects as we got, before we got signed. Every time we get a bigger crowd or sell places out or get paid more, we had like raining fog effects and just, we were just, you know, but we just spend more money on that and not like, hey, we could just eat right every day now, you know? And so, because that the next show, I mean, we did a show like every month, you know, like, what are we going to do now? And when we have new songs and, you know, just keep doing it. And I got to the point where I go, oh, I'm finally going to cry. And I cried and then my voice just cracked, you know? And I go, oh, that doesn't work really if you take it that far. So, it's and then some
That's
people probably
two
didn't
things.
like it. A lot of people, when you have a kind of an unusual voice, sometimes it takes a long time to get used to it, or it takes, not a one listen kind of a thing if you're a little unusual. Because before we got signed, one of the A&R people were saying that sometimes the A&R guys would be down at the Rainbow talking about the hot
Yeah.
bands they wanted to get signed. And we were one of the, these guys have songs, they look great. And, that's all the checks that people would have back then,
Right.
it
Exactly.
was
Yeah.
like you have to, be, because they're looking at bands like that are Bon Jovi and other bands that are breaking and everybody look cool, so they're not, and then they go, but the singer is really got an unusual voice, but some people are going to love him or some people are going to hate him. And they would discuss the shit like that, as they're seeing if the other guys are interested because they were always scared because signing a band was a big deal for the A&R people because especially on Island, they would get a piece of the sales sometimes,
Oh, really?
and also, you can sign any band in the world. And once you find the band, you have to get your, the heads to get in to sign it too. So getting signed. It's so funny now because now that I'm older, time, it like a couple of years doesn't seem like that long. Sometimes I go, hey,
Right.
yeah, we do that last year, and I go, no, that was like 3 summers ago, and I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And
Yes, I
it's
do.
like
I do actually. Yes.
and we used to think like, oh my God, we're never going to get signed. And it's like a couple of years, you know what I mean? It was like, and we had just started and we're like so scared not to get signed, getting signed. Because being a San Francisco band, the record companies weren't on you quite as much. Like some bands even moved down to LA that we knew and stuff to live there.
Right.
And we got offered to do that a couple times. And I think we were always just we were maybe overly loyal to everything that maybe business wise it wasn't always the smartest decisions. We always thought we sell out clubs here in San Francisco, and then we're going to move away just to what about all those people that
Compete.
supported us? Yeah, we were like and we had our own manager, and she ended up being a great manager, but she still had never worked with a signed band. But when we got this huge record deal, we didn't go,
Yeah.
hey, you should just help out. We could sign with some big thing. We never tried to do that. It was always like a homespun thing. Everybody was from the same town. You know what I mean? It was like, but other people would be jealous of us, even if they were doing good. Like I had friends in other bigger bands, and they
Yeah.
just go, "Oh man, you guys are so lucky." And they were from our town, and they'd be like, where I'm hanging out with this guy, I don't even know him. He's just a weirdo, he's just spent his whole life in his bedroom practicing scales. He has no social, and everybody's and people look at things different from other places too. You know what I
Right.
mean? Their worldview, there's different people, but if you're from a whole different area, that's why there's so many amazing English bands that all grew up in the same town. Or look at the Beatles or something. I'm not saying we're as good as them, obviously, but it's like there's something about everybody coming from the same place. There's some kind of chemistry to that. And some of the guys in the band had even got to junior high and high school together.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think there was a lot of just, this kind of vibe that was, pretty interesting.
Where did you pick up? So, like with your songwriting and your voice, though, and it carries over to this album and to your other albums and to even your solo album you did. Like when you do it, you thoroughly you don't do like not everything's like a big chorus. It's catchy, but there's something about your the melodies. I feel like they almost sneak up on you, like because you just turn the emotion just a little bit. It's not even like it's a huge explosion. You know what I mean? Also, you're into the melody. What I'm saying? How you do that? It's
What's
a
your
weird.
question?
I don't even know how to. I don't even know how to
Oh,
phrase it.
okay. Yeah, I
Or if
mean,
you
I
be
don't really
aware
think
of it, are
about it
you
like I
aware that
said.
how
I
you
just
do that?
kind
Are
of
you
do
aware
it.
how you do that, or does it just happen to you?
What was that?
Well, when you're writing songs, because you don't write, sometimes you're not, your choruses aren't even like bombastic and huge. These like melody, you just have this emotional melody. It doesn't even like change the dynamic. Just something the way it turns just a little bit, and you sing vocally different, and it just changes everything. And it's just so slight.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think about it. I just lucky enough to just kind of do it. I don't really go, okay, now I'll do this vibe here, because I sometimes I record people and they go, I got to get in character or I'm gonna do this now. And I always just kind of go, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't really think about it. Once I got a thing, I just kind of know where I want to come from. I just got a vibe of where I want to
Yeah.
come from. Like when I wrote like Ready or something like that, I
Mhm.
just know that I want to be not, you know, you know, I'm tired of being a small town boy. And I don't want to be, I'm tired of being a small town boy. You know what I mean? It's like, I just got a vibe for it. And if it's something but I love doing the other ones more, not necessarily live as much now or something,
Right.
there's just some like the song I'm writing right now is got kind of a dreamy, it's kind of a slow, dreamy kind of thing too, and I've just and then when I feel like, ooh, I've got, I'm in the zone and it's really cool, it's just funner to sing like that for me,
It's
where
very authentic.
like a song on like let's say for instance, you better keep an eye on that girl. Like that,
Mhm.
I'm not as proud of that as I am some of the other vocal performances. But when I sent it
Really?
to my manager in Germany, he goes, God,
Yeah.
you sound so young on this. I'm not trying to make you sound bad, but you sound, I played it for my kid and he's like 10. And he goes, hey, I go, how old do you think this guy is? He goes, I don't know, 18, And it's like, he just really dug it. And for me, I kind of thought, that one's kind of the fun one. I mean, I felt like I kind of, it was kind of more of a tongue in cheek thing, so sometimes you can't judge your own things, but I always had that line and I always kind of wanted to write a song about that, about, somebody, because I'd met people like that before, that were like, you know, it's about a lot of different people. Like back in the day when we were kind of first starting, Coke was like really big. And I made sure that we didn't have a band like that because I'd already kind of hung out with people like that and kind of went through a little phase of partying a lot where, you'd go to a party and they go, it's your birthday, man. There's your name would be in Coke and they go, the period is a fucking gram, shit like that. Or people would come out and go, hey, check this out. And they have these huge lines and they go, and blow it off, and everybody in the whole place go, "Oh my God!" And they go, "Hey man, I got so much, fuck it." And some dude that was just some idiot that just had all this coke, all these people would be fawning over, and people would be like, "Where are they going?" And I saw kind of how that stuff was, and so it was like, oh God, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought. What we were talking about right before that. Well, I don't know why I'm even telling you this part.
Oh, it was originally about your voice, the changing of your voice, which actually Coke would have changed your voice too if you
Oh
really did
yeah,
it a
yeah,
lot.
no, no. So, but anyway, so yeah, no, I wasn't into all that stuff. Oh no, better keep an eye on that girl. That's right.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so anyway, and then these guys would have some super hot chick, you know what I mean, that was just there because the guy had a bunch of money and coke and stuff like that. And she'd be and then I was always and then she'd be kind of looking at the guys in the band and stuff, and I'd always just go, oh man, this dude has no idea what he's in for if like this chick's gonna just completely blow him out of the water one day. But it was, and just other people that, would be in LA and pull up in a Porsche and the chick would be sitting there really bored while he was talking about something, you know what I mean? So I always thought sometimes just observe stuff and get ideas for that. And I always wanted to have a song like that. And when it came out, it's fun. And some people really like it. But when I'm playing songs off the album, I don't go, you've got to hear this song. I'm kind of more proud of the rhymes that are in it because I try to work really hard on the lyrics more than I used to, just because it kind of really came easy for me. But now I've written
Mhm.
so many songs. And back then I would just, like, oh, okay, I see, I'd have this idea and I wouldn't just go, oh, can I have a better line? I just go, that's just how it goes. Boom, boom, boom. And now I just dwell over it. Like sometimes I have a song on the board at my studio for weeks because there's a few parts that I don't have yet. And I just, need to come back to it later, and just having rhymes like, just something you haven't heard a million times before, the typical stuff. Sometimes a typical thing is cool, but other times it can just be, kind of like, okay, I've heard that a million times. So even on that one, I think, uh, um, now you're strutting around thinking you're the tall man. You never even made it big in Japan. I go, oh shit, I've never heard that rhyme. I've never heard
Yeah.
that said. You know what I mean? So then I got more excited about that stuff than the actual vocals of the song. You know what I mean? There's nothing in there that I go, that's got, I really did it on that. It's kind of more of a, you know, uh, just a driving kind of thing. But then when I played for people would come by my studio and I go, oh, this is kind of the fun one, and I'd have to almost say that because I was like, and then they'd always go, oh, this is my favorite one. And I go, oh, maybe I should just shut up. Then so I
So
kind of
when you play it,
to the dreamier ones.
I to me actually there's something. Yeah, actually, I can't you see me floating right now? I think is my favorite right now. Just something like the melody on that one I really love.
Eddie
Uh,
Trunk's been playing that one.
has he? There's
Yeah,
something very catchy about that one. It's
that
very
one's really on the bubble. It almost didn't even make the album because there's kind of a little bit of different styles. People don't really notice it, but I play a lot more guitar on the records now too than I used to.
mhm.
So, and usually the songs start now. most of them start with me, and I have like two drummers as the original drummer, Tommy, and then I also play a lot with Louis Sonor that's been in the band, a lot for years and years and years too. And so it's usually me and Delana Nova lives all the way in Delana Scott in Nashville, so she's not always there when we're writing and stuff. So it usually starts with us three doing stuff, and over the years we've had so many trio kind of jams that were sort of a lot like the Fade album was us three, and I did almost all the guitars on that. So I've done a little bit more guitar playing, and on that one was a thing we just did as a trio all the time. And so then when I said, hey, why don't we track that when we were looking for songs of the record? So we tracked it and then added the little da 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 dun 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 dun, that little line. And at first
Yep.
everybody goes, oh, that's kind of poppy, and everybody was kind of, and I was sort of down on it too. And I was even mixing it. I was turning it down. I was like, then I try to do, I did it super sloppy too. Like it's like I go, when I did it tighter, I go, that's even worse. So and then I just go, that song's a little too sweet, maybe. And sometimes I get scared if something sounds a little too pop. And I had friends and stuff that even in the early days of Vain that played next door to us, and we'd be working on a song, and I go, "You don't think that's too pop?" And he goes, "You think that's pop?" Because of
Yeah.
that, with all these heavy guitars. So it's funny because that one was sort of on the bubble because we recorded more songs than are on the record, and a lot of them are old ones from the past, and that one was kind of about the experiences of living in Hollywood and stuff. And when I moved down there for a while after the original Vain. And so it was just kind of sitting around, and then I'd play it for people. They'd come in, and everybody said, "Oh, I really dig that." And then I was going, "Hey, what do you think of that guitar part?" To this other guitar player I know. You think it's a little soft, and he goes, "Oh man, that reminds me of a Jackson 5 thing or something." And then I go, "Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
cool." I looked at it in a different way, because I always loved that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes I overthink stuff. I'm just kind of like, because we had been gone for so long that I wanted the album to really represent Vain and not like there's all this really new kind of tripped out stuff that I'm into, because I had some other stuff that was really on the other envelope that I still have that was even a little bit different than, no respect kind of thing. And so then I go, and that's even a rough mix. I never even mixed it. I had a rough mix and I just kept laying it around, and I just kept moving forward. And then I think the last song, I wrote Cold Like Snow. And then I go, oh, I've got another song. And then we worked on that one. And I ended up doing all the guitars on that one too. And then, the final thing, we were almost done and picked the songs. And then I wrote Disintegrate Together, because I had that piece laying around for a long time and I wanted to call the album Disintegrate Together, but I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do the song Disintegrate Together because I never used it. And so then I go, let's just work on this. And then I go, okay, we got it. And then we were going through all the songs. Always like, okay, can't you see me floating? And even a couple of people were like, oh, really? Man, we could, it's pretty good. It's kind of like, so it's kind of weird. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people really reacted to it. But if you really listen to it,
Yeah.
you can tell it's just one. It's like even when the lead section comes, it's just bass, drums, and
Oh
guitar.
yeah.
There's not like two guitars going. And then
Well,
on
that's what I'm saying. It's very,
together, Delana played on that too. So and that one's, I do like the story of it, because it's kind of like it's funny too, because I was really, while I was not sure I wanted to put it on there, um, Delana called me and said, hey, can't you see me floating? I played it for my son, and he's like 19 or something, and he's just like came over there and he goes, hey, play the Hollywood song. And he called it the Hollywood song, because at the end I go, it's a Hollywood, and then I'm
yeah.
like, okay, and I go, okay. And then the last thing I really was shocked that Eddie Trunk started playing it, because he played Cold Like Snow in a show. And since then he's been
Yeah.
playing Okay, See Me Floating, because he's always like the heavy, he's always talking about, oh, and the album's heavy too. And he's like reviewing albums and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty happy, because I was really worked so hard on this album, but I really felt like I want people to hear this, and it wasn't completely done. And one day I was like out really working out hard or something like that, and I had to pull my bike over to the side of the road, and I was like, it was hot, and I was like, fucking A, man, I hope I'm just like, and then I thought, fuck, if I died right now, and the first thing I thought of is nobody's gonna fucking do the album right. You know, who's and that made me think, okay, this shit's still pretty important to me. I'm not just doing it like to make a buck or something. It's like if you think that you're maybe gonna die, and then that's the first thing that pops in your head, you know, because I don't consciously think of that. I'm not sitting around,
Yeah,
I'm this artist and I have to put out music, or I just kind of stumble my way through life, you know, like every artist with a little bit of blinders on. Otherwise, you would stop, you know, you would just go, hey, this is just not making sense for, you know, it's just like, so, um, but luckily it did came out and I was pretty surprised how the reaction was because I had other people that would do that, you know, consultants and stuff that I respected, I've worked with before, and people that had came over and maybe tracked something with me.
hmm
And, you know, and then they go, this album is badass, dude, you know, and I'd go,
hmm
oh. They were like, this is really fucking killer. And I was like, yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm digging it, you know, and it's like coming together. And so like we got 9 out of 10 on classic rock, you know, and then we've got other people saying it was the best record of the year. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. Because a lot of the other artists that were not really competing against, but put out records, you know,
right,
some of the other people that are in our category have a lot more people doing stuff. They have like some of the top people even like, you know, mixing it and producing it. You know, they still have some of the good producers, and I just kind of doing it myself at my studio. But I do have like a cool old, you know, it's done on all old analog gear, and I have
right.
these old board. It's not like a Pro Tools thing, really. It's in the tank. I've already wrote a new song. We just recorded a brand new song. It's almost finished, but I'm going to try to go a little quicker on this. The goal is to have it out, you know, almost about the same, a little, you know, within a year, you know, instead of like this big gap. And right now I've got a whole batch of new songs I'm working on. And we just fine-tuned this one and I'm pretty happy with all of them. They're pretty cool. You know, that's the most exciting thing to me. Like we just play with Aldo Nova and Stephen Piercy and Loverboy, this big stage, and it was a lot of fun and stuff like that. And we played the whiskey before; it's a lot of fun, and I still love it. And you know, but I don't. But I get more excited about like creating something. You know, it's like
Yeah,
even jamming at the studio, and I've got a new riff, and then I hear the bass and drums, and I go like, oh wow, this is just, you know, I can't wait to finish it now because we got to record it because I've got it on my phone, and then I have a recording studio, and since I just recorded the thing on my phone, I'll just at home with my guitar. Okay, this will be another guitar line. And then I already have some ideas for the vocals. And so, you know, now it's like we got to get this on tape, you know, but everybody's busy. So, and we have a gig coming up in 3 weeks. So I'm almost going, as soon as we get rid of these gigs, which are important because we make money and stuff too, and people want to
well,
see
yeah.
us, it's like then I can get back to work and then, you know, being a hermit at the studio, you know. So it's like that's still when I kind of feel if I kind of start feeling like, oh, I wrote a song and yawn, you know what I mean? Then maybe I'll hang it up or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I've noticed you guys seem like you're out there more often now. And actually, talk about that. So you have a gig coming up, yeah, in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, back east.
There's one like well, you have a couple of gigs coming up, right? Actually, you're doing a little bit of a little more shows now.
Yeah,
I
well,
know you have
we
one
did the
near me, one
whiskey
near
and we
me
just
coming up.
did Rocktember, and then this one's in Lowell, Massachusetts on the 18th.
Yep, I might make that one. I'm looking at my schedule to come if I can.
Yeah, Lowell,
Yeah,
Massachusetts on the 18th of October.
yeah,
That was the
that's not
first
far
time we
away.
played a venue like that, probably since 1990. I think we played Boston Channel, you know, that was like the stone of, we played all the places that were like the Stone and the Whiskey that had with San
Yeah,
Francisco, the Stone. It was all the clubs that if you sold out, then record companies will come check it out. You know what I mean? They're all gone now. There's except the Whiskey's the last one standing. I think the Stone's a strip club, you know, which is kind of apropos. So
right.
but you know, it's kind of sad in a way though too, because some of the places that we had like you know, our first moments of like, wow, you know, there's something going on here, you know, like all of a sudden, hey, you guys sold it out. We're like, what? You know, that realization that we're doing something that your people are digging, and you know what I mean? Because you just never know. I mean, we were pretty low end when we first started. One of our practice places was like in a garage at this place called Jimmy's Towing, and I even have a song, but we haven't used it yet. It's still laying around. And, you know, the opening lines, got my start down and Jim is towing. Play a tune while the washer turns. And we would play in his laundry room. And his wife would actually walk in while we were playing and like put laundry and start it up. You could hear rumbling through the amps and just look at us with this hatred. She hated it so much because it was so fucking loud.
Oh,
And Jimmy didn't care because Jimmy was getting money from us. And he just told his wife, I want that money. That's beer money, you know. And then we just go, hey, you know, and he had his daughter. I still remember her name was Amber. And I go, yeah, it's not too loud for Amber, is it? And he just go, oh no, we got the TV even louder than you guys. Only Amber's fine. You know, he's like, when are you guys coming? You guys are gonna record next week too. I'm gonna hit the store and get some. I want to get some 12 packs. And I'm just like, Jimmy's telling. It's pretty funny. So
exactly.
then we actually started kind of doing some stuff, and then we go, okay. Then we got to record. We had to practice at a pro place in San Rafael, which is the same city I live in now. That was like, you know, Santana would be across the street. There was like rehearsals across the street, and like Night Ranger, you know, and like all the Pablo Cruz was the only band ever when they loaded their gear out from gigs, they'd have palm trees, like they're loading out palm trees for their stage setup, you know. So so that really helped us getting like a pro place to practice, you know. And then we lived in the city in San Francisco, so we'd have to actually drive into, you know, across the Golden Gate Bridge and drive in to rehearse. And then when we drove back to the city, we try to find parking in this beat run car that, you know, and then we'd look, you start memorizing the cheapest tickets. Okay, there's a crosswalk available. That's not too, because there, you know, there's no parking.
Oh yeah,
So it was
that's
like,
really
you
funny.
know, those times we'll always look back. We used to get like a burrito, this place called Churbella's, right? And they had the giantest burritos ever. And they were super cheap. And one of those could keep you alive because we know that because we did it, you know? And it's like, and so when we were at the studio, like I said, out in the middle of nowhere, we would just be going, oh, there was one Mexican place they took us to, and they didn't even have hot sauce there, you know, because it's Canada in 1990. They just like hot sauce, like, you know, it's Mexican food. Yeah, you have hot sauce for us. And so we go, oh, Churbella's. And we were even go, maybe one of the girls can send us their salsa in a jar or something. And, you know, of course they couldn't. So we thanked them on our record, right? And the one guy that always worked, I had this really distorted voice. You know what you want, you know? And so so we got back home and the record and we just like, oh man, we're good at Chabella's right now. And me and Ash ran down there and we were so excited to go to Chabella's, right? And we got in line and then we saw the guy be go, hey, we've been gone for a while. We were just in another country recording a major album and we thanked you guys on the album. He just goes, what do you guys want? Same thing he said every time. No fucking love. We just we were expecting like, oh, he want a free
Yeah,
burrito, or you know, it was just like, what you guys want? You know, it was like he could give a shit at all. So I guess our thanks column on our album to him was a big deal, you know.
that's really that's funny. When you were actually at the restaurant in Canada, were they the Mexican restaurant? Were they speaking in French too? Right? When you
Oh
ordered
yeah, yeah.
Mexican,
They had a lot of friends. Yeah, they kind
I
of kept
didn't.
going there too. Like I said, the he wanted to do it there. We were like, oh, and Morin Heights, what is this? And he lived there. So you know, the producer would rather just go home every night, you know, instead of moving to San
Yeah,
Francisco or LA or something. And we're like, oh, wow. And we're thinking, God, LA sounds kind of more exciting or something like that, you know? So, and then I go, but he goes, well, call me tomorrow. We could talk more about it, you know? So I call him. And then these chicks would answer the phone, the studio with these French accents.
yeah,
And I started getting, you know, that was a big driving point in my youth. It's like, okay, is there going to be a lot of chicks there? You know what I mean? So it wasn't always the best decisions, you know. So I'd go, wow, that sounds kind of cool, you know. I go, maybe it won't be as boring as we think there, you know. Have French Canadian chicks there, you know. But it was like we were trapped in the middle of nowhere. We got one night off. We went into Montreal, which is an amazing city, and we went to the crazy strip clubs and all the things. And I mean, everybody partied so hard because we were so cooped up that there was like actually somebody threw up wine on the side of the car and it just froze. So there was like frozen red. It looked like blood. Our roadie got pulled over at gunpoint, going to pick up strings because there was somebody they were looking for. And he was hung out with this chick, and we go, we think she's underage, man. You can't hang out with her. And he goes, no, she's not. I go, it looks like it to us. You better make sure he met some chick or something, you know. And he was only like, you know, 18 or something anyway. And he's like, And then we were making jokes to him before they happened, and the money has Mounties on it, right? And we go, see
Yeah.
this? You're going to be seeing these guys. If you don't, you better card her or you don't bring her around us. And he goes, no, no, I
Yeah.
forgot. And we had this whole joke, and all of a sudden he's driving like the next day, and all these cars pull him over. They're coming out pointing guns at him. He's like, oh my God, that chick lied. It's the first, but they were just looking, pointing at the fucking vomit, and
Oh,
looking for a car with blood on it or something. And he had it looked like
oh.
he had frozen blood on the car. So it was really funny. So we came back, we go, he told you, man. So, and he was from Santa Rosa too. So we were all from this town, Santa Rosa. So we even kept the same people that first started with us that didn't know anything about being a guitar tech or a drum roadie. We never fired anybody. It's like we took like our whole little squad with us. And then of course we hired a few other pro tour managers
Right.
like that. But it was kind of fun. We got to take our same buddies from our small town to like Japan and London and overseas. So it made the whole thing like a real family kind of a
Like
fun
a
thing.
family, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably the strength that you guys had. I mean, and I think this album itself goes back to documenting a lot of those times, a lot of those stories, you know. I think
This album is really a look back. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the theme of this record, like the song Back in '89,
yep. But
kind
yeah,
of
exactly.
about.
And Casey Swinger had a little modern day and back a self
Yeah, Casey
revelation.
Swinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a fun one. I like that one. I kind of had an idea that I never had before. It's like to write it from the perspective of the person watching us. I don't know if you picked
Yeah.
up on,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
totally love. I love it.
So,
I
and
love a
it's
good
like,
story in a song.
and that was kind of almost a true story because we played this gig in Kansas City, and this guy shows up and he's like a super Vain fan, right? And he's like, "Oh, hey man, and he's like, yeah, I got all your records. I'm so glad you guys playing here." And we're like, right on, man. And then he's yeah, and I brought my daughter, you know, and she's like 19 or something like that, 20 or something. And he's like, "Oh, that's great." And I go, and she's over there, and we look over and it's like this girl that's this total like super hipster with all these tattoos, but she looks like a super beautiful model. And we're like, "Whoa, that's your daughter?" And then somebody goes, "Wow, you probably can't take her anywhere." And he goes, "Oh, fuck, dude, I get in so many hassles." And we were laughing about it. And we go, and I go, "Well, she should come say hi, you know." And we weren't trying to pick up on her or anything, but he's just all, "Oh, she's scared to talk to you guys. You're like Godster. She's been listening to you since she was like born." And I'm like, "Really?" And I thought it was funny, right? So then I just go, "Oh, cool." So he comes over and says hi, and she's always shaking and stuff. And I was just like, wow, this is just a great story. Like she's watching us and she's like this totally super hipster. And we used to be like cool hipster city dwellers, but
Right,
now,
right.
we're, a little bit older. So
A little bit.
it's kind of a cool theory. So when I first started writing it, since we're talking a lot about songwriting, it's funny how
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah, yeah.
excited about stuff. It's funny because I was the one guy that's his name's Jeff Matei. He's a producer, and I can confide in him and go, "Hey, what do you think of this, man?" And it's fun for me to talk to people or the guys in my band. So I first wrote it. I go, "This is going to be a story about, I've felt, we've got this weird connection going." And I go, "She's okay. This about it." I told her what it's about. I go, "The opening line is, she was a Casey swinger, got check it out, a West Coast singer, this stuff." And I started singing. She goes, "Oh, that's pretty cool, man." And I go, "Yeah." Anyway, I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking, then I thought about it a little bit, and then I go, "God, you know what? I got to make myself worse. It's like she's so new and beautiful and is the hipster, and she's watching me, and I go, oh, I got an idea." And I go, it's kind of self-deprecating, but how about she was a Casey swinger, got caught checking out a washed up singer. And I go, "Oh, God, that's really bad song." And I call them and I go, "Hey, check this out. I changed it." And he goes, "Oh, you did? I thought it was really cool." And I go, "Yeah, now it goes, she was a Casey swinger, got caught checking out a washed up singer." And he instantly goes, "Oh my God, that's so cool. Can I come down? And you need to track something?" And I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Oh, I fucking love that." And I go, "Really? You love it that much?" And I go, "Why?" "Because I look like the fucking washed up singer." I go, "It's making me sound kind of bad." He goes, "No, because it just makes the whole thing just have a cooler vibe because I've never heard that before." And so then
Well, yeah, it's definitely. It makes it less creepy too. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, the
I mean,
age is
because
totally
it's not
different.
really creepy because nothing, it's just a fantasy thing, really. You know what I mean?
Right. That's what I'm
I'm
saying. It's
probably
not about
ruining it for
anything.
some people that thought
No.
something happened or whatever, but it was like, it's like if there's some of the things that people aren't even kind of catching, like like they say that hot stage lights blind you. I'm sure hoping so because tonight I'll surprise you, and it's not like I'll surprise you like how cool I am. I'll surprise you because I probably don't even look as cool as I do on stage. You know what I mean? So I really wanted to make it seem like you're in another league than us, even though we think we're some rock star dudes. You know what I mean? You're just like I wanted to put her kind of on the pedestal, but then she still, was getting affected by the. At first, I was
Right.
worried about the writing part of like, 1,000 degrees, get down on your knees. The song saying
I love that. I love the
album
references. It
songs. And
wasn't too much, but it wasn't too much. It's just a
okay,
fine
good.
line.
Because I was almost thinking as a songwriter, like, okay, can I do that? And I actually call my manager and I go, hey, because I have one guy in Germany, but I have the same woman that was our original
Yeah.
manager that was like Vane Swengali when we first started, having a woman, cool hipster woman that knew about all the cool records from England and shit that nobody ever even heard of in our town. And and I and I and I go, what do you think of this chorus? And she goes, oh, that's like a lot of the hip hop artists are doing that. I go, what do you mean? She goes, yeah, it's called a recycle. And it's your own shit. So you can just use it. And she goes, I love that too. And I go, okay, cool. So, so a lot of thought gets put into some of this stuff. It's not just like, oh, just throw it together and, see what happens. But that was a song that, I don't know, a lot of people, I haven't heard a lot of people, that's my favorite one, but I really like that one a lot just because it had a different story and I can kind of picture the scene of, still,
Right.
it's kind of really happened. And then at the end of the song, I like how it goes to where the singer, beat whoever it is, but me in this case, it's like, she was a West Coast singer, she was a Denver dancer, and she was a LA princess, and she was a Oslo. I mean, it's just like there's so many, like the guy, it's just like ready to almost just crack, because I've been there before as a young man, you know what I mean? Where every dream from when like John Lennon went to Elvis movie and he's looking around at the chicks reacting, he goes, I want to do that. There's something about rock that everybody wants to be a rock star, but when you're a young 17, 18, 19-year-old guy, you want to meet chicks, it's your hormones. And it's like, and the rock people can get a little carried away. And so are the people that come to see the rock people, they're just as bad as us. So it's just like, I kind of like how I added that at the end, just because to show a little bit of what it used to be like. It's not just about the KC swinger. It's about like just girls in general, like I went girl crazy, and just like, and then it's like the person's just kind of going off the rails a little bit. But that's how I see it. I usually don't like to explain songs because you could ruin it for people because they might get a different interpretation, but it's cool.
I don't think that one actually down that one especially because it's pretty explanatory the way you're coming off. You know what I mean? You're just describing the angles of the lyrics because it really is what it sounds like it is. You know what I mean? But it's fun that it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
You're
it is.
self-effacing on it. You're not taking
It
yourself
is.
serious, and obviously, if you're the fans, you already think well of you. So it's not like it's like you know what I
And
mean. You're
it's
putting
funny,
yourself down.
I never told her that because since I met her, and her dad, I never like sent a message to them going, hey, you guys influenced me to write a song. And her dad would probably be stoked, maybe. But I thought about it. I go, you know what? It's like just kind of weird. It's like, hey, you
Yeah,
inspired me to write this song about me being a fucking, girl crazy guy. But it wasn't about that. It was just about the dichotomy of the hipster new,
right.
you know, era of hipsters, because I used to go hang out at all the cool clubs and stuff like that when I first moved to the city and blend in with all the freaky people. And I think that's what made Vane a little bit unique because we were hanging out with more of the people that were hanging out with listening to Bauhaus and The Cure and all that shit. Because where we lived, those were the people. Only a certain
Right.
percentage of those people came to our shows. The biggest percentage of people that came to their shows were all the suburb people, like in the song Rocking the Suburbs, that would go into the city and watch us at the other club. And once in a while, some of the crazy hipsters would go over there and they go, wow, you guys got a lot of people here. They'd be surprised. And it made us kind of like gave us a different angle because you'd go in a shoe store and some guy would look freakier than you did on your, flyer. And he's just going, that's just his work wear. He's not even trying to be a rock star or anything. So
performance clothing,
we got to
yeah.
step it up. You know what I mean? If we're going to get noticed, because we wanted to have flyers that, people would just see the flyer and want to come see you. So,
You guys did have a weird, like, you guys got like a certain pass from even like the heavier bands. I know you produced like Death Angel, or like Kerrang! Magazine, always a lot heavier stuff. And then you guys always had a pass with the heavier bands for some reason, where like a lot of glamier bands that would do makeup got totally beat up. Something about Vane, a lot of bands like, yeah, I like them. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I know. We'd have
I never
people
understood that because,
we
I
would meet
mean,
people that would say stuff like, "Oh, I don't like any of that kind of stuff because I like punk rock, but I like you guys still." So we'd always kind of be surprised because my voice isn't really especially then.
no.
I think it's got stronger, maybe not now, it's hard to say, but it is stronger even later in my career. The No Respect, I hadn't been singing that long, you know what I mean? And I think it got, but since my voice isn't a screamy kind of thing, that people would like punk rock people, that stuff like that we'd meet would still be like us, that didn't really like
Yeah.
commercial,
Yeah. I knew people like that, like Slayer, Megadeth, and they like Vane. It goes into, it was really interesting that that was the only band. And I never understood why. Like, I listened to a lot of different music. So for me, it was easy, it was no brainer. But some of my friends were just so intense. And I'm like, I never caught what was a crossover for them. Maybe because it was just authentic. It was just easy, believable. You know what I mean?
cool. That makes me happy.
I think that's what it was because those are like, you hear, excuse me, this band's a poser. It wasn't like that. So maybe they just felt, yeah, you guys were just the real deal in what you're
We used
doing,
to
and they
get
believed
good
it.
reviews and stuff too from people like Stefan Shirazi that really didn't like the whole glammy kind of thing, but were into like all this heavy stuff because even when we had the look that was way more over the top than we had on No Respect, we he said by the end of it was really hard rock, we weren't really
Yeah.
glammy. Our songs weren't glammy, jumping around kind of things. But we actually, because even the picture on the No Respect, that was a little bit of an older picture. The shoot that we shot for it, we had a little bit more toned down, but there was a big controversy about the picture, and everybody had different opinions on it. So then they just ended up using some other picture we did, and just some people goes, "Oh, that's kind of more glammy," and then we just said, "Fuck it," that's how the horse we rode in on, and we never really worried about all the
Which one? Because there's the bathtub one, and there's a picture of you, and then
no the
there's,
the back album cover picture.
oh,
Just we're
okay.
all standing, the five of us. There was a whole other
Yep.
picture, and we looked more like we did in all the other shots in the video. We didn't have this big hair, and it was just kind of more. We had long hair. Like when I started the band, I wouldn't let anybody even try out if they didn't have super long hair because I said I want a band. It was like when you think of stuff like that, it sounds really dumb. But I just thought, if you don't have long, there was one guy that was supposed to be really good, and he had just a short haircut. And I go, dude, you can't do it. He goes, and he's like, you got to have like, this is going to be the longest hair. Everybody in the band has to have like super long hair, like even longer than mine. And he'd be like, oh, okay, man, I got to keep it this short because I work at blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then when Danny West, when we started trying to get him interested in doing it, he kind of had, a little bit. And then he goes, oh, dude, I got Spanish blood. My fucking hair will grow so fast. And I'm like, okay, and I was a little skeptical, but he looked so cool. And, chicks dug him and he was killer guitar player, and it's just like, I went, okay, but, and then his hair
iTunes or
did.
whatever. The singles out. Cold Like Snow is on iTunes, but that's it. Can they order it? The CD, get a vinyl. Like, where are we at with that? So the fans, 'cause I know.
Oh, yeah, you just
Yeah.
go to davyvain.com.
Okay, I'll put the link underneath the show on YouTube
Yep.
here and on Spotify, so they can get the
Yeah.
album itself that we're talking
Are
about.
you,
I mean,
and if you have any, you can reach us on Facebook too. If you have questions, or you can write at davy@davyvain.com too if you got questions about other. So going to put out we're also releasing more vinyl and move on it on vinyl too, like in the next few weeks.
oh, cool. Are they gonna be at the shows? Any of this merch?
The CDs will, but not
Yeah,
the
man, it's
vinyls.
been
Oh,
fantastic.
no worries, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
I'm glad we could do this. And we'll catch up again.
Okay.
Maybe, so thank you.